I think it's time we talk about AI. I'm a cybersecurity major at Purdue, and I think now more than ever, we need to talk about what AI is, how it's impacting everybody, and what we should do about it. And this is my true, genuine, raw thoughts. I took a lot of time to write these things down, make sure I really am fleshing out my ideas, and really make sure I'm getting this right because there's a lot of opinions on AI right now between seasoned professionals and people who are just getting into the space. But from my perspective, I think is personally more important that we all decide as individuals what to think about it. Not what some corporation says to think about it, not what some professional says to think about it, but what you decide to think about AI. How are you going to use it? What are your thoughts on it? That is what I'm going to try to answer today for myself. And I want to first talk about jobs. I'm a college student, so my next phase in life is getting a job. No more internships, no more, you know, going from semester to semester, working in between a full-time position. And a lot of people are concerned about the possibility of jobs and jobs being eliminated, especially in the IT field. I mean, AI, one of the better things it can do is programming, software programming. So naturally, people are concerned about their positions. Can I still be an IT help desk person with AI? Can I still do cybersecurity with AI? Me, can I still do offensive security? Can I still be an ethical hacker with AI? And despite fleshing out my thoughts and despite thinking I have a good understanding on it, this one I don't know. And I think it's okay to think that. It's okay to say, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows really what's going to happen with AI in the industry. And saying I don't know is one thing, but we have to be prepared for it. We have to really, I think that it's everyone's due diligence to understand what it is, understand what AI is, understand how it could possibly impact your role. I mean, if you're a social worker or a doctor or a surgeon, sure, there could be AI use cases in your field, but are you being completely replaced? Are you being completely wiped out? No. At least I hope not. But for me and my classmates and my friends who are in IT looking for cybersecurity jobs, I have been increasingly concerned for all of us because, as Daniel Wiesler wisely once said, the ideal number of employees for a company is zero. So these companies, they don't they aren't really looking for employees. They're if you're a CEO and you have an idea, ideally you make it as cheap as possible with the highest level of quality as possible. So you don't really want tons of employees who will drag those costs down. And I say that because I am I'm concerned that when I get out of college, I'm concerned that when I finally get my degree, I'm concerned that people will have moved on from cybersecurity with humans. And obviously that's a big stretch. And I don't think realistically that's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years after I graduate. But I'm more so concerned for the people who are freshmen at school, or even high schoolers right now, or even the kids before them, middle schoolers, elementary school kids. How is AI going to impact them? And that leads me to my next point of the education crisis we're currently facing. As you know, I'm in college, and AI has revealed a scary amount of laziness in every single student and professor that I've interacted with. And it is insane to me how revealing it is. There are some students before AI, me included, right, in high school or in middle school, where we would do the least amount of effort possible for the highest possible grade, and then try to find a middle ground. So I think in middle school and high school, I was shooting for low A's. Hey, I just want to get high B's, low A's, putting in the least amount of work possible because I was lazy. I didn't really care for the subjects that I was looking for or that I was learning about. And I just wanted to get through class and go home. And I think that's a sentiment shared by lots of students. And unfortunately, I think that's a sentiment shared by lots of students in college as well. And because of this, before the bar of energy you had to spend was still quite high. You know, you still had to write the paper, you just didn't make it as high quality, or you didn't review it, or you didn't edit it. You just sent in your draft as the final copy to your English professor in eighth grade, and it was fine. You got a B, whatever. But now we're facing a crisis in which students, the level of entry for fantastic work is a prompt. The low energy, low effort work that used to be typing on a keyboard but it not being very good is now typing on a keyboard, but the output is fantastic from an AI, from an LLM. We are putting in the minimal amount of effort for the highest possible grade and the least amount of learning. Before, you put in meh effort, you get a meh grade, but you still learn something. You have to understand the concept to a certain degree to write about it, or to do math problems, or to solve problems. You need to understand it a little bit, but it's just meh. Meh learning, meh effort, meh grade. Now you have no learning, meh effort, and perfect grade. So, how do we think that impacts kids? How do we think that impacts especially college kids who are getting ready to go into the workforce, who are getting ready to get their job? Teaching them that, hey, you can put in the least amount of effort and do perfect in this class. You can put in no effort and still be perfect, but not learn anything in the process. That is a concern for me. And now almost every semester, there's a professor, or all of my professors are saying that AI work is beginning to become indistinguishable from normal work. And that makes their job miserable. Imagine being a professor asking students to write a paper or to submit a lab, and every single lab report and every single paper is the most elegantly, perfectly written AI slop you've ever seen. How are you supposed to grade that? How are you supposed to assess students' learning when you know that they didn't learn anything? It's unfair to professors. But as students, we're just cheating ourselves at the end of the day. We are cheating ourselves. And learning is supposed to be difficult and high effort. You're supposed to put in a lot of effort to gain lots of knowledge. That's how it works. You can't cruise along, and you can't put in the minimal amount of effort and gain the maximum amount of learning. That's just not how it works. And learning comes with friction. When you think about me learning ethical hacking, the amount of friction I had to go through to get where I am today. And heck, installing a virtual machine for the first time, that was hard. I had no idea what I was doing. I had to go through 3 tutorials, 5 YouTube videos, and it took a lot of time, a lot of effort to get it right. But it was through that friction that allowed me to learn how to do it. Now, take AI, take an LLM. You ask ChatGPT, how do I install Kali Linux? How do I create a VM? And it takes all that friction away. There's no manual effort. You're copy pasting commands, or you're following a incredibly detailed step-by-step guide. And yes, you execute the thing, you get the job done, you create the VM. But what are the chances that unprompted someone asks you, hey, can you create a VM for me? That you can do it. You can repeat those steps. Have you actually learned how to do it? And I think the answer is no. By using AI for these kind of things, we're replacing our learning with a false sense of understanding. We think we know it because we got the job done. We created the VM, we submitted the paper, we hacked the machine. We think we got the job done, but it's all a lie. It's all a facade. We didn't actually do anything. And don't get me wrong, AI is a fantastic learning tool as well. It's not just, I'm not some weird pessimist who thinks, oh, the world's ending because of AI and everyone is doomed. No, I think AI is amazing. In technology, I think this stuff is awesome, and I have tons of cool projects that wouldn't have been possible without AI. And I think it's a tool that can be used for amazing things, especially in education. But we're just not there yet. We're not there yet. And I try my best to augment myself with AI as opposed to giving AI my problems and magicifying it away. I give AI my problems and ask for study problems. How should I think about this differently? Challenge my thinking. And by doing these things, I am using AI as a tool as opposed to using AI to shortcut my learning. The friction is still there. The friction of learning is still there. I still have to understand the topic to ask AI to challenge my thinking. So that friction's still there. We're just seeing it in a different light now. So what's the solution? What do we do about it? Education's cooked. Noah's saying education's cooked. What do we do? Well, I don't know. I think I have a good idea, but I think the education system has needed an overhaul for a long time now. I think we are much too traditional, especially in higher education, like college. I think a lot of universities and colleges are not adapting quick enough, and I think the system needs an overhaul. But that's asking for big changes out of a little person. So let me rephrase and give some suggestions for some better ideas. And I think the first thing that comes to mind for students who are learning something new, how can we, in the AI era, how can we make them better? How can we optimize this learning? And the first thing that comes to mind for me is teaching. Teaching something is the best way to learn it. That's why I have this YouTube channel, right? You can look at any of my videos. All of them are meant to be teaching something. And by forcing kids, and it's kind of weird saying that, like forcing kids, but by allowing kids to teach something to the rest of the class, it forces them to have an inherent understanding of that thing. You can't just copy and paste a script into ChatGPT and then read off of it on your phone. No, that's not how this works. You need to live demo. You need to freeball it. You need to wing it. Because you need to have that understanding here before you can teach it. And I think this is going to be great. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be great for the education system. So more speaking, more public speaking, speaking to your class, teaching your class, more live demos, more hands-on labs, getting down and dirty with the technology and actually seeing how it works actually understanding how it works, and then teaching how it works to somebody else. And this is just one idea for more hands-on subjects like IT or cybersecurity. And I really don't know how this would work in fields that are a little less technical and a little more theoretical, thinking like the social arts, you know, writing, history, philosophy, sociology, those kind of things. I don't know how they are particularly impacted simply because I'm not in the field. But for technology and for IT, I think that starting with teaching is a fantastic way to move forward. Lastly, to wrap this video up, I want to talk about personal use cases because I've been hating on AI a lot in this video, and I don't think it deserves all the hate. I definitely think it's a fantastic technology, it's a fantastic thing, and I think ultimately it will make us better, but we're definitely getting worse before we can get better. So I want to talk about some personal use cases. How do I use AI as someone who just shared those opinions about it? How do I use it? How do I make sure I don't fall into the trap? From a security standpoint, from a cybersecurity standpoint, right? This video is titled How a Cybersecurity Major Talks About AI or something along those lines. From a cybersecurity standpoint, I think that we have a long way to go. Data privacy, how people use LLMs, especially in corporations, right? It's kind of the Wild West right now. And there's no GRC, there's no governance, there's no compliance with AI right now. And I think we need to get to that point. That's coming from someone who hates GRC, right? Who thinks it's very silly. But I think with AI, with such a impactful technology, having GRC, having some form of compliance and governance around AI is the way to move forward from a cybersecurity standpoint. Because I think more than anything, data privacy with LLMs is going to reign more important for most people. It's not going to be using them versus not using them. It's going to be when I do use them, how is my data being used? And how can I keep my conversations private? How can I make sure I use this tool without it negatively impacting me and my data? I think the obvious answer to that is just use local AI models, right? Use your local hardware instead of those giant cloud computing centers. And that, again, it costs money. It's not on a lot of people's minds, but for me personally, that is what I am going to look to do in the future. Host my own local LLM, host my own servers, self host everything I can to preserve my privacy. I had to move inside because the AC unit just kicked on and it was really loud. So that's why I'm inside now. But same kind of idea. But earlier in the video, I talked about how I want to augment my life with AI. I want to, use AI to augment my studies, making sure I am using it not to replace my thinking, but instead enhance it. And I share that same view with every aspect of my life. Can I augment my life and make my life better with AI? But there's an important caveat here. Can I make my life better without replacing the mental thinking, the learning part? For example, I love to cook. I love making things from scratch. I love seeing how different flavors interact with each other. I love cooking. However, I think an AI agent or some kind of augmentation that suggests recipes based on what I have in the fridge, that's powerful and that's cool, but it might bridge the line of, is it replacing my thinking? Why can't I think of that myself? So there's certain use cases that I love, there's certain use cases that I hate. One of the ones that is more favorable for me and one that I'm actively pursuing is a personal assistant to help me reflect on my life. So I try to keep a weekly journal about the things I did this week. Did I move my goals forward? And week after week, I'm typing my my journal, I suppose. I'm typing my journal and I type it and then I kind of forget it. Using AI, a local model, of course, to keep things private, I want that model to parse all of the data that I've written. I want it to read all of my journals and then extrapolate patterns from that. Hey, the past 3 weeks, you say you've been working on the same project, but it seems like there hasn't been actual progress. Why is that? I want a local personal assistant to challenge me. I want it to be a better me, to challenge me, to make me think harder, to make me pursue things more passionate. And that is something that we're not doing right now. We are taking the easy way out. We are eliminating the friction of learning. We are making things easier on ourselves. But we don't, as humans, we don't want to do things because they are easy. We want to do them because they are hard. It is the search of doing something hard, the idea of completing a hard task, of climbing a mountain, of completing a certification, of writing a research paper. These things are inherently difficult, right? But that's what makes them exciting. We don't want AI to take that away from us. We don't want AI to take that excitement and that grind away from us. But instead, we want it to challenge us. We want to make that process more rewarding. We want to extract more from that grind. We want to learn more from that certification. And I think that starts with each and every one of us. Change the mindset you have on AI. Think, ask yourselves the same questions that I asked myself to come up with this video. Only you can decide what you think of AI and how you're going to change your lifestyle around it, if at all. AI doesn't apply to everyone, it doesn't have to, but it is coming. Things are going to change. It just depends on how we react to it that matters the most. Thank you for watching.